Brain break ideas and how to implement in an asynchronous course.
Let's talk about brain breaks. Really, it's any time that you take your attention away from what you're currently doing and put it on something else, even if it's just very briefly. So in a lecture type setting, students can sit there for an hour and that can be really draining on them. Studies show that if you give them even 1 or 2 minutes to think about something else, when they come back to that material, they'll actually retain it more and it'll really make a big impact on how engaged they are in the class. And so there are lots of ideas for these sorts of things, and you can actually do these in a kind of face-to-face synchronous class or even in an asynchronous class. So let's talk about that. So a few ideas might be things like stretching or breathing exercises. I've done things where I have students go and send a quick text to someone they've been meaning to text, or say hi, or whatever that might be. In a synchronous class, you're going to want to lead these things generally. So you might do a stretch or a breathing exercise. And I found that if I ask the students to stand up, then I tell them, you don't have to participate, but at least stand up with me. Most of them will actually do the stretch or the breathing exercise with me. I'm going to show you in a few minutes some examples of those. But before I do that, let's talk about how you might do this in an online class. So in an online class or an asynchronous class, you can actually embed these stretches and these exercises or different ideas for things into the content. So you might have them read an article and then provide them with a brain break. Of course, students don't have to do it. They can skip right past that, but I actually get some really good feedback from my students that say, I loved that. I think it was so neat. And now I do it throughout my day just randomly when I'm doing other things. So while it may only impact, let's say 10% of your class, it still does make a positive impact on some of your students. So let's take a look at a demo.
So how do you use brain breaks in asynchronous classes? For this demonstration, I am showing how they were implemented in one of my classes. I'm going to go over to modules and show that as students were working through the materials, so let's say we get to this week 1, lesson 1, they go through their introduction, they have a learning section, or they go through the materials, and they get to this page called Brain Break Breathing. And so this is what it looks like. It gives them an overview about what a brain break is and why it's important. So for this one, it says brain break for today, and it tells them to try to find a quiet place where they can sit or stand undisturbed for a few moments, and to close their eyes and relax their muscles in their face. And it gives them some additional information of what they can do to try to just to take a moment for themselves. And it walks them through this breathing exercise that they can practice. So this is just a Canvas page that I created with text that walks them through how to do a breathing exercise. Once they're done with that, they continue on with the materials. So they start to study their flashcards and a study guide, and they can get to the graded assignments. You'll see that each week or each lesson, another brain break pops up. So the next one is called Make a Connection. And so this one just says, take a moment and connect with someone. It could be someone in your house, like a partner, a child, a pet, just a few other examples there. And just send a quick text, message, or email, or maybe say hello in person. So it's supposed to be quick, but just a way to take their brain off of the materials just for a moment. And then, of course, they continue on. So I'll show you a few other ones. So lesson 3, I do a stretching exercise. So there are verbal instructions, and then I've also provided a video with instructions there. So this is something I recorded on YouTube, and they can pick whichever one they want to do. Another idea that they get in lesson 4 is to be thankful. So it's just to take a moment and thank someone. And then the 5th one that I have is called Get It Done, which is to pick one important, quick thing that they've been avoiding doing and just do it. So maybe a quick phone call or an email they need to do, just something to take their mind again off of their studies just for a moment. And then it just reminds them, once you're done, let's get back to work so they can continue on with the materials. And then from that point forward, they have a you choose. And so what I've done is I've created 5 pages: breathing, make a connection, stretch, be thankful, and get it done. Once they get past that, they can go to this page and they can click on these links and it takes them to each one of those pages. So if there's one they really enjoy, they can continue to do that one, or they can choose different ones each day depending on their mood. So that's what brain breaks look like. And again, I just insert those pages into the modules. So if I were to go over to my pages, you would see that those brain break pages are sitting right here. So you just create a new page and create the page here. And they exist under pages, And then I go to my modules, go to the appropriate week, click Add, go to Page, and then locate that page. And then I can insert that. So let's say I was going to do Be Thankful here, add the item. It will add it to the very bottom, and then I can just move that around. If I don't want that there anymore, I can come over here, the 3 little dots, and click Remove. It's not deleting the page, it's just removing the page from the module. I'll click OK, and those pages will still exist right here in my collection of pages. So I hope that was helpful and inspires you to put brain breaks into your asynchronous classes also. Thank you. For more tutorials, check out our YouTube channel, Faculty Development Center, CSUF.